Hi, today we're going to be working on a summer floral tote. Hi, I'm Myra's Boutique Paint. Thank you for joining me. I know I was working with stencils last week, and we're going to do it again this week. The reason why is I want to show you with the Hopeful Petals Stencil how to use it in a different way. So we are using one of the same stencils to create this project, but we're using it just a little bit different. So I'm going to start out by doing a border on the top here, and we are using our heirloom scroll stencil for this part, and I'm only going to use the top part of this stencil. And I'm going to be using some crinoline DIY paint, and I'm just going to use a foam brush, and I've got my paper towel to kind of dab extra paint off of my brush. And this is a canvas tote or a burlap tote. You could do this with a canvas tote. Either one would work fine for this project. The burlap is, because there's more texture, you just kind of have to get in there a little bit better with your brush. So even though I'm using a regular foam brush instead of a pouncer, you just use it basically the same way. I use all kinds of different brushes when I'm stenciling. Sometimes it's just whatever is closest. Sometimes it's what am I trying to accomplish and what brush will work the best for that. But because this is the burlap, I find the foam kind of gets in there a little bit better. I did not use an adhesive on the back of this just because with the burlap, it just would gum up the adhesive and pick up all the fibers. So it's not really worth doing. So I'm just going to try to be as careful as possible and just hold it down and kind of move the hand that's holding it close to the stencil where I'm actually doing the stenciling work. And yes, sometimes I forget to offload my brush. And I think that might be a problem up here where I just did that. Hopefully it didn't crawl. The paints, when you're stenciling, sometimes can crawl underneath the stencil, and that's one of the good things about using stencil glue, is you don't want that to happen, so the stencil glue keeps it from, it helps it from going underneath the stencil. Now I marked the halfway spot on the bag, and I used my purple pen, which is a disappearing ink pen. And the line was right there, and it's already gone because it got wet. But they're super handy, and I don't use it just on fabric. It is a fabric tool, but it is good for wood. I use it on paper. I use it on all kinds of stuff. I'm going to lift this straight up, and then I'm going to scoot it over. And I did tape this down just to kind of keep it where I needed it to go. You can see that the lines did blur a little bit. That's where you really have to watch making sure you offload the brush. And we're going to line this up. So I think I will switch brushes and see if we have a little bit better luck. I'll grab an actual stencil brush and let's see, because the foam might have been just getting too saturated, but also the offloading is so important. But it's okay for two reasons. I don't mind it, and second of all, that way you're learning from my mistakes, and I would prefer that you learn from my mistakes. But if you're starting out, sometimes that's a bit frustrating. Yeah, I think this is working far better. So this is a good example of where the type of brush Where I thought the foam brush would be for the best, I was wrong. All right, let's go ahead and lift this. Yeah, see, that works so much better. So next we're going to go back to the DIY Hopeful Petals stencil. And you'll remember that there was two parts to these stencils. There was the base that we used last week, where you do your base color, and then after that, then you come in and you do your secondary and third colors if you want. This time around, we are just going to use the this part of the stencil, the secondary stencil. But we're going to start out with the smaller one, the one we used last week. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this in the same color. Get our offload paper towel again here. Is I'm only going to do the petals right now. And once again, I'm not going to put stencil glue on this. Just going to hold it. All right, that looks pretty good. So next one I want to do is I want my inside color to be different. So I'm going to grab another brush and I'm going to grab some Summer Crush. All right. That's very pretty. So now I think what I want to do is add a little bit of yellow in the center here. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Queen Bee and put it on the tip of my brush and go in there and just put dots, kind of like what we did last week with the shovel. But I wanted to show the versatility of this stencil, that it can be used in many different ways on many different materials. So this is the medium stencil in the stencil set. And we'll go back to the crinoline. Now we want to add some green. So same thing, you could just use the outline part of the leaf, kind of like that. Let's give that a try. But because I'm going underneath the flower, I can just go ahead and, just try to be careful, or I could tape it off. So let's give it a little bit of tape on there just to make sure. Offload. Let's go ahead and get this lifted. Nice. It just gives it something different. It doesn't always have to be a solid whatever. So next, though, I think I want to do a little bit of leaf off of that, and I'm going to use the full leaf on this one. So on this one, I'm not going to worry about offloading, because I'm offloading basically in the center, and then I can go to the edges. All right, perfect. But you can see the difference between, because this is open and this makes it kind of look a little heavier. We will add a little bit of something there, but I think I'm going to continue on with the open stencils. All right. Perfect. So now I think I want a stem or two. I'm going to grab a piece of stem. I'm going to put it right, this edge right on the edge of the flower. all the way to the edge. Now I think I'm going to add just a smidge of orange to this, just on top, just a little bit. And I'm just going to start at the tips a little bit, and it's just going to be a barely, but it just gives it a little extra. I think I'll do that with these other ones too. I'm going to actually put a little bit in the middle just to give it a little bit of dimension there, so it's not so flat, because otherwise it just felt kind of flat. Let's see what we got. I love when I'm looking at my workbench and it's got 7 different colors, 8 different colors of open paint. It makes me happy. So I loved the way the Daisy Vines stencil looked on last week's project. So I think I'm going to use it again, and I'm going to use the same spot that I used. I'm sorry for repeating, but sometimes, you know, they work out so well. So I'm going to try to kind of smush this in here in between. I'm going to change to aviary, just so that we have another color. Okay. At this point, you're just kind of wanting to fill in, so it just doesn't look like 2 flowers sitting there on a bag. You want it to kind of feel like you got a whole picture going there. So inside the berries here, I want to use some cherry picked. I just feel like it needs a little extra pop of color. This is such a pretty color. We bought some cherries this weekend, and I'm always nervous about buying them because you never know if they're ripe yet or if they're good enough because it's kind of early. They were so good. I think I want to now try to get a little bit of this flower kind of coming up. It is fun, you know, too, to mix different stencils. They don't all have to be the same company, the same look. I'm just going to kind of start the green there. You know how the buds, they have kind of the green sitting there. So then I'm going to take crinoline. This is kind of a big brush for it, but I'm just going to go on the tip here. And then if you want, you could go back with the green. I think I would wait for it to dry. Maybe if you want to add a little bit of green, but let's lift this and see what we end up with. I want to bring in more of the berry colors. So I'm going to do this one up here. Put the picked cherry again. And because we like things in threes, let's get one more berry going on here. So I'm just going to grab a regular paintbrush, and I think I'm just going to add a little bit of ivory. I'm not going to have much on my brush. I'm just going to kind of come from the center and kind of fill in a little bit. Just because this is a little heavier with the ivory. So I kind of feel like maybe this needs to be, and you could use a really thin tipped brush just to kind of pull some of it up. But you can see I'm not doing much. We're just kind of making almost like color on color shadows. But it just felt like it needed a little something. So if you're ever at the point where you're like, I don't know if I should add more or if I have already overdone it or whatnot, take a picture of it and look at the picture. You will be amazed on how you will see it differently. I don't know what it is. It just is. This looked a little blah, so I think I will add a little something there. Yes, better. All right. So that's our project for this week. If you have any questions about any of the products I use, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye.